Chapter 7 summary and discussion for To Kill a Mockingbird. Here we go. A few days later, after school has begun, Jim finally tells Scout about his pants that he found at the fence. And so if you flip to chapter 7 in this copy right here, it's on page 78. When I went back, they were folded across the fence like they were expecting me. Across and something else. Jim's voice was flat. Show you when we get home. They'd been sewed up. Not like a lady sewed them. Like something I'd try to do. All crooked. It's almost like somebody knew you were coming back for them. Jim shuddered. Like somebody was reading my mind. Like somebody could tell what I was going to do. Can't anybody tell what I'm going to do unless they know me, can they, Scout? Jim's question was an appeal. I reassured him. Can't anybody tell what you're going to do unless they live in the house with you, and I can't even tell sometimes. And so Jim was hesitant even telling Scout because he was wondering like if it would kind of scare her a little bit. And so he finally does, and he said it's not like something a lady would do, which, you know, it's the 1930s, like women were supposed to be good at this, but if you asked me to sew something for you now, it would probably look like Jim's pants here, which most readers assume that Boo Radley did this. So yes, I do have the sewing hand, much like Boo Radley. Okay, so don't ask me to sew anything. Hear that, Lally Kate? I can't sew anything for you. Sorry. So anyways, when Jim has his pants, he is talking to Scout about who he thinks may have done this. And you know, Scout's like, I can't even tell what you do sometimes. So this person must have just known you were going to come back for them. So when they're on their way home, let's talk about when Jim and Scout are on their way home and what they start finding in the knothole of the tree again, because these are important objects, and the whole idea of a tree and a knothole and finding, like, we're going to call them gifts in there, are really important. And so this is kind of like the children's way of communicating with Boo Radley, which most readers assume it's Boo Radley putting the gifts in the tree. And so we'll assume that. But they found in the tree a ball of gray twine, and then they leave it for a few days, but no one claimed it. So they took it. And then we find out a little bit more about school. Scout, she's in 2nd grade. She still hates it. I really think that she got a bad taste for education when she was in Miss Caroline's class. So now she just keeps hating school, keeps trying to get out of it. And, you know, Jim assures her school will get better with time. You know, the older you get, the better school gets. And so moving on, late in the fall, they keep finding more presents in the knothole of the tree. And they find 2 soap figures that look like them, Scout and Jim, and then they find more presents. They find gum, a spelling bee medal, and an old pocket watch. These are all pretty symbolic, so I want you to think about what each item could represent. The fact that these soaps are carved to look like Jim and Scout would mean that this person knows what Jim and Scout look like, and of course they've been playing around the Radley house, so Boo Radley's going to have an idea of what they look like. The gum, a lot of students are like, well, why did they eat it if it came out of the Radley yard? Wouldn't they have died? Well, the gum was fine. You know, Scout kind of has that worry as well. But they have a spelling bee medal, and then they have an old pocket watch. Think about what a pocket watch may represent. Represents time, something that's passed down from one another. Also, when we think about antiques and what, you know, that may represent in the fact of it all, like whose pocket watch was it? What are they saying about time here? And so the next day is a really important moment in this chapter because Jim and Scout walk by, and Mr. Nathan Radley, who is Boo's brother, is filling the hole up of the knothole of the tree. And so when they ask why, he says that the tree is dying. And so the tree here is a huge symbol. Like, don't let this go overlooked. So let's talk about the tree. If we think about the symbol of a tree, what does a tree provide? It provides life. It provides oxygen. It's got roots, okay? But really, when you take something that provides oxygen like that and you take cement and you cover it up, it's almost like you're smothering it. So I want you to think about what other character in this novel may be smothering too, and maybe, being pinned up somewhere, okay, like Boo Radley perhaps. And so that's where we get the symbol of a tree, is thinking that, maybe perhaps Boo is experiencing the same thing from his brother. And Jim feels really upset and he feels betrayed because an adult lied to him. The tree is not dying, and we all know that. Why did Nathan Radley tell him the tree is dying? Well, because he wanted the kids to stop communicating with Boo Radley altogether. And so Jim realizes that an adult lied to him, and this is where Jim starts to realize that adults can be pretty, wonky in the head. And so at the end of this chapter, he goes out onto the back porch, and he's really sad. So go to the last page in this chapter, page 84. Scout says, "He stood there until nightfall, and I waited for him. We went in the house. I saw he had been crying. His face was dirty in the right places, but I thought it odd that I had not heard him." So Jim's like secret crying, and it's because he realizes the world's more tainted than he thought, that an adult lied to him. And so Jim, as I said in the previous chapter review, I want you to pay attention to Jim, because this is a coming of age novel, and he is growing up. He is realizing the harshness of the world. All right, if you have any questions, let me know.